Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and today we are going to talk about forward engineering for strategic gearing. This is going to be part 4 of our lectures under the same series. Now let us start with the analytical tools of forward engineering, which we have discussed in the previous lecture of mine. I told you about the different tools and techniques which are used for this forward engineering, for this entire idea of making our business relevant in future as well, or you can say you are making them future ready. Now we will talk about, in today's lecture we will talk about the integrative framework of forward engineering with the art and science of radical change management. There is a 3R framework of forward engineering which I will be introducing with you today. We will also talk about changes, challenges, responses and initiatives. What is the managerial approach to industry and sectoral analysis that I will be putting in front of you, and eventually we will talk about the different approaches to facilitate this analysis. So, my dear learners, this is going to be the another dimension of forward engineering after understanding what it is basically all about and what are the tools which are being used to implement forward engineering, or you can say what does it take in implementing forward engineering in a business enterprise. Now starting with the art and science of radical change management, whether it is art always tells us about doing any activity or anything in a best possible manner, and science is giving us the logic, that is rationality, or you can say it shows us the path of cause and effect relationship. Now we have a 3R framework for forward engineering here. We all are aware of Hamel and Prahlad. We know about C.K. Prahlad. Gary Hamel and C.K. Prahlad in 1994, they suggested the idea of reinventing an industry, that you have to reinvent an industry. This is an idea which can be implemented in any industry regardless of its type and geographical location. Michael Haber in 1993 suggests the idea of re-engineering the corporation. Now imagine that Prahlad is talking about reinventing the industry, Hammer is talking about re-engineering the corporation, wherein re-engineering implied the radical redesign of business processes for dramatic improvement. That if you want to ensure the drastic and dramatic improvement in the business processes, you have to re-engineer. We all know that in the decade of 90s, there was this word became a buzzword, that we are talking about BPR, business process re-engineering. The processes which are redundant, that need to be weeded out, that need to be done away, and only the relevant process should be the part of the production process. That is what Michael Hammer wanted to suggest. So we can say it was a tool for radical change management at that point of time, that you are re-engineering the entire process, you are resorting to BPR. Although Hamel and Prahlad's idea of reinventing, it took us beyond re-engineering for preparedness to compete for the future and compete in the future. We all know about that book, Competing for the Future. So compete for the future and compete in the future, these are two dimensions, that I am preparing for the future and I am competing in the future. These two dimensions are there, and this reinventing, you can say that reinventing became the basis for talking about the forward engineering. So reinventing took us beyond re-engineering, and we wanted to prepare ourselves to compete for and in future. When these ideas are correlated with the management control systems framework suggested by Anthony and Govindarajan, we arrive at an integrative 3R framework of forward engineering. If we combine them together, we find a framework, we can arrive at a framework which can be given an acronym of 3Rs. Now what are those 3Rs? That I will be telling you, but we need to understand for what they are. If you know the reason for what these 3Rs are coming to us at the policy or strategic level, if you ask me, I would say reinventing the industry or organization implies creation of new opportunities. So, at the strategic level, you are reinventing a specific organization, an industry, and of course, the reason is clear, that is, you have to create new opportunities for the business enterprise. If we move to the next level, that is at the managerial level, restructuring the organization in consonance with reinventing, it would ensure preparedness of your company to new opportunities. To what extent I am prepared for the new opportunities, my company is prepared for the new opportunities. This is the story at managerial level, that you talk about restructuring your company, restructuring your corporate enterprise. Moving to the next level, that is the operational level. Here the re-engineering of business processes, it would lead to alignment of operational aspects of business to the new situation, that you are doing the alignment of the entire operational aspect of business to a situation which is completely new to us. Now that situation is not the same under which these processes were designed. Since the situation has changed, of course, we have to make requisite changes into the entire operational aspect, or what you call as process as well. So, in order to summarize this entire discussion of conducting 3 R's at 3 different levels, I thought of giving you a summarize format of it, this entire discussion for creating strategic response to coping with the changes, and for initiating a forward engineering process. You can aggregate these 3 R's, that these 3 R's are required at 3 different levels. First R is actually representing reinventing the industry, second R is showing restructuring, and third R is showing re-engineering. So, I would start from the operational level. At operational level, that is at the level of factory, we require re-engineering of entire business processes. If you move one step ahead to the managerial level, we need to restructure the enterprise in alignment with its reinventing. So, you have to, whatever reinvention you are doing, you have to restructure your entire business enterprise. And at policy or strategy level, we are reinventing the industry. So, my dear learners, we have to understand the sequence first. It does not start with the operational level, it actually originates or emanates from the policy or strategy level. It percolates down to the operational level with the reinventing the industry. We are going to reinvent the entire industry, and that is basically the objective of implementing forward engineering. That is the objective of sitting on a time machine and witnessing or anticipating the relevance of my business in future. And for that, of course, we may have to reinvent. There can be many or several unpleasant instances where you may have to take tough decisions to ensure that your company remains relevant. So, at policy or strategy level, you start your story, you take your first step at this level, where you talk about reinventing the industry, and then eventually it percolates down to managerial level in the name of restructuring the enterprise, and at operational level in the name of re-engineering the business processes. So, we cannot work in isolation. You cannot say that by simply putting it at the policy level, writing at the policy level, that we have reinvented the industry, your job is done. You have to ensure that it percolates down to all levels, that is managerial as well as operational level, and for that these 2 R's are needed. So, reinvention, restructuring and re-engineering, these 3, when they are combined together, they can be called as 3 R framework of forward engineering. So, we can say, my dear learners, here that 3 R framework is basically a comprehensive framework which takes into consideration the ideas of all 3 experts, whose name we have discussed just before when I was telling you about C.K. Prahlad, Hamel and Hammer. So, we told you about their own idea. Somebody talked about reinventing the industry, somebody talked about restructuring, somebody talked about re-engineering. But actually or honestly speaking, we require all 3. None of these 3 can do the requisite service to the business alone. They all are needed, and that is why we have got this 3 R framework of forward engineering. But along with that, there is a problem that how to ensure the proper alignment of these 3 R's. There should be a proper alignment between the 3 R's if you really wish to rejuvenate your enterprise, if you really wish to actually reinvent your industry. So you have to ensure that whether the alignment is proper or not. There is a study by Ghoshal in the year 2000 which suggests that the need for radical change management to make companies responsive to the radical changes in social, political and business environment. So if you are really willing that your company should go for radical change management, they should be responsive to the changes which they are witnessing. And this 3R framework suggested here is of immense importance if you really wish to ensure that there is a proper alignment between the 3 R's. For radical change management, which we call as RCM, the 3 R's should be guided by the idea of continuous creative constructions, that is called CEC-UGC. So you have to go for ensuring continuous creative constructions, wherein the company undergoes a continuing process of reinventing, restructuring and re-engineering. So for 3 R's you need 3 C's, that is continuous creative constructions. Whatever constructions you are doing, that should be creative and continuous, that is consistent. We need consistency to ensure that our reinvention, restructuring and re-engineering is being aligned properly. So this entire construct makes the organization respond effectively to the radical changes taking place in the market. Whatever changes you are witnessing in the market, you can actually effectively respond to them. You can effectively you can reply them effectively if you are prepared with these 3 R's. The idea of this entire forward engineering is rooted in the idea of CCC, that is continuous creative constructions, through creative envisioning by moving back from the future. So you are actually moving back from the future, you envision, your visioning is actually creative, and this you can only do when you follow the path of CCC, that is continuous creative constructions. So we can say, my dear learners, that this 3R framework can be considered as a framework of forward engineering. You can say that this entire forward engineering, if you really wish to understand, you need to understand the entire 3R framework. If you are aware of 3R framework, it means you are aware of the framework of forward engineering. So reinventing, restructuring and re-engineering, these are the 3 components, and the focus of reinventing is always on innovation. The focus point in the reinvention is innovation, that we have to innovate. Reinventing, what is reinventing? It is essentially leadership function. If you ask somebody that who can bring invention into the who can reinvent the business enterprise, I would say that it actually depends on the leadership, because the aim here is to create new dreams in consonance with the vision of the organization. People by and large, they are accustomed to perform their duties. They actually work as an orderly person. Whatever instructions are being given to them, they simply implement them. So it is the leadership who is going to plant the seed of that reinvention, that you have to reinvent this entire business enterprise. And reinvention, if you ask me personally, I would say that it largely depends upon the leadership. If your leadership is not in that mood of reinventing the business enterprise, no framework can help you in doing so. Moving ahead to the second R, that is restructuring. In restructuring, what we do, we actually aim to improve effectiveness by offering flexibility while restructuring the institutional structures and businesses. So we are restructuring this entire corporate setup and ensuring flexibility into them. It should not be it should not behave like a watertight compartment where you are too rigid, because rigidity in the name of rules and regulations cannot be considered, cannot be honored, cannot be accepted. We should not be rigid, we should be flexible enough then only we can provide solution to the business problems. In this entire process of re-engineering, the focus is on efficiency. So my dear learners, we have to understand, restructuring talks about effectiveness and re-engineering talks about efficiency. The essence of this entire discourse of forward engineering lies in aligning these three processes, and we have to align, then only we can talk about efficiency, we can talk about effectiveness. Now coming to another dimension of this forward engineering, that we have four important words coming in front of us. One is change, another is challenge, third is response, and fourth is initiative. So changes, challenges, responses and initiatives, what are they? What is the approach of your management towards these important situations? How do you react to the change? How do you accept the challenges? The way in which you respond? What are the initiatives which you take, which your management takes? That actually determines the fate of any business enterprise. So, and for that we can conduct a specific analysis of a given sector or industry. So if you really wish to assist in forward engineering of a sector, of any company, of any industry, we need to undertake sectoral analysis to develop appropriate response strategy with respect to changes in the sector, because every sector is unique in nature, their challenges are different, their changes are different, and that is why in the same manner the responses and initiatives are also supposed to be different. You cannot customize it, you cannot provide one size fit all approach. You need to customize the solution for each and every sector, each and every industry. A noted historian, Toynbee, gave the concept of challenge and response, and that idea is being extended here. We can develop a managerial approach to industry and sectoral analysis through an analysis of these four important words, that is CCRI: changes, challenges, responses and initiatives. Now these for this analysis we require different approaches to facilitate. So to facilitate this entire analysis, we may use different approaches depending on your own choice and industry in which you are dealing with. Now we can talk about those approaches, and any one of them can be used by a business enterprise depending upon their own requirement. First one is best approach. Now when we say best approach, it does not mean that it is the best, no. In this approach, changes and challenges in a given sector are analyzed in terms of behavioral, economic, strategic and technological factors. So best here is indicative of acronym, it is not indicative of the excellence of this approach. It is giving us an idea that you are conducting the analysis of behaviors, economic component, strategic component and technology factors, and that is why we call it best approach. Responses and initiatives, they are developed keeping in mind the changes in these important factors, that is behavioral, economic, strategic and technical or technological. So this approach can be used by those business enterprises who are actually who wish to conduct the environmental analysis, who wish to actually understand the behavioral component and technological component along with the economic factors. Second one is functional perspective approach. This is another approach to facilitate the analysis in order to implement forward engineering. As the approach, the name of approach itself is indicating, we are actually applying or using functional perspective or functional approach. Here while conducting the sectoral analysis, we can take 5 functional perspectives. It can be strategy, marketing, finance, human resources and production management. So based on these 5 functions, we can conduct a sectoral analysis, and changes and challenges in a sector can be viewed in terms of strategy and government's policy framework, that what is government's policy framework and In the light of that, what my strategy is, marketing initiatives in the sector, that is how many dominant brands you have in the market, and what is your strength in relation to those brands which are actually prevalent in the market. So what are the marketing initiatives in the sector in which I am operating? When we talk about financial requirements including credit flows, what is the situation of that with regard to my company, and human resources availability, because the kind of skill sets we need, whether they are available or not, which is reflected in skills and other competencies, and sector's production system and its supply chain links. So if we go to the functional analysis or functional approach, then of course we have to consider the marketing, finance, HR, production, all these aspects together. They are combined together, and then strategically we have to position ourselves to ensure that my company is future ready. My company is ready for competing in the future and competing for the future. This functional perspective can also be metaphorically represented as a business house. If you consider it as a business house, so here the roof of the house is constituted by strategy, marketing and finance. So strategy, marketing and finance represents the roof of the house which you are creating for the business, and the room, its room represents the production function. Whatever production function you have, it represents the rooms which are available there, which you create in that house, and its foundation is represented by the human resources. So my dear learners, why are we considering human resources to be its foundation? Because whatever plans you are making, whatever plans you are crafting and drafting, that can only be implemented by the help of or with the help of human resources. If you don't have people having requisite skill sets, you cannot implement these strategies. You cannot implement, you can't make your organization future ready. So the wheel of business is actually driven by the 5 spokes represented by productivity, quality, cost, value addition and risk. So these 5 spokes, they are actually making this wheel of business running, and it is actually these are the driving forces which ensures that wheel of business keeps on running, that too in a right direction, in a proper direction. The next approach, which is the third one, and it is the most popular one and comprehensive one, it is called as 9 points approach, and it is so comprehensive that after resorting to this approach, nothing is left. In this 9-point approach, the entire focus is on following 9 points for an in-depth analysis of the managerial changes and challenges of a given sector, the sector or industry for which we are doing this analysis. So you can call it an in-depth analysis, after which of course nothing is left and all the dimensions are being covered. Let me start with the first one, the nature of sector's development matrix. What is the nature of the development matrix of the sector for which you are doing the analysis? What is the spread of the sector in terms of corporate market, non-corporate market, structures within the sector, whether the sector is corporatized or it has an atomized sector with the dominance of small and micro enterprises reflecting the subaltern economy. So there are number of questions in front of us, my dear learners, when we do this kind of in-depth analysis. I am asking a question to that sector, that whether your sector is whether the spread of the sector in terms of corporate market is on a higher side, or you have the increasing number of customers from the non-corporate market structures. So that is a question we are asking. Another question, is your industry is a sunrise industry or mid-noon industry or sunset industry or evergreen industry? Whether it is perennial in nature, that throughout the year you have customers, you find customers for your product, or you are dealing with an industry where it is not of seasonal in nature. So we can ask this question to the industry, is it a leading sector or lagging sector of the economy? Are you representing a leading sector or lagging sector of the economy, or you are in between somewhere? What is the frequency and time spread of sectors boom bust cycle? What is the position of your company in terms of trade cycle, whether it is cyclical or there is no trend into that? So this analysis will help us in understanding the nitty gritty of that entire sector. So if it is mid noon, it is sunrise, it is sunset, it would actually determine the time and spread of that sector. So this analysis is of immense importance for us. This is a second dimension. This was the first dimension of this 9 factors, 9 component analysis. The next one is critical driving forces. What are the critical driving forces of your company? How are the supply demand cycles behaving for your industry? What is their shakeout effect? What exactly we are doing in terms of the supply demand cycles behavior? How to deal with them? Next is strengths and weaknesses of sector can be analyzed in terms of competencies, non-competencies and incompetencies. Core competencies basically identify the packages or bundles of expertise, skills, knowledges and know-how available in the sector. Can this bundle be reconfigured or rearranged to meet new challenges which we are going to witness? At times core competencies lead to create rigidities. So we should not have core rigidities here, we should ensure competencies only here. Identify core rigidities in the industry arising out of its core competencies. There are other components also in this approach which we will discuss in the next lecture of mine. So I hope, my dear learners, I could give you a better idea about the forward engineering and its tools and techniques. With this, I am ending today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.